My audio is back now. There we go. That learning how to kind of learn the technology a bit. Joined by Matt Yo, uh, ice maker, owner of Tim's Ice Manufacturing, works in the Edmonton area. And welcome, Matt.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So, just a little bit of background on what you do. I was digging around on your website and reading a little bit about your story. Um, the the family business for you started with your grandfather, your father, and now you've bought out the last generation and taken over the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, my grandfather started actually in Gibbons, a small town just north of Edmonton. Built the original natural ice surface out there for the two sheet curling rink, and then Dad ended up taking over the hockey rink and curling rink in the late '70s, early '80s. And then Dad actually went on to do a lot of the ice for the Briars and the World Championships and trips over to China and Japan, which I was very lucky to go over many times, starting when I was 14 years old, to help him and learn some of the culture and really submerge myself in the curling world. So that's kind of, and then Dad's gotten to a point where he just likes to be around at the events and buy meals and drinks for people and use my credit card. And now I've taken over the business and started what he did a few years ago, was run a bunch of different curling clubs under his umbrella and hockey rinks as well. And we started that up about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, and taking the same business model that he had back in the '80s and trying to develop it in the new world. And that's where we kind of stand now with 6 clubs in the Edmonton area, all the way from Athabasca up north and Camrose and Wetaskiwin down south. So it's been a wild ride. It's been fun. And, obviously this summer has thrown a couple more wrenches into things.
Yeah, and of course that's certainly the topic of discussion here. One of the things we do have some bad news about the tour events. The Avonare Curling Club typically hosts a couple great events, a men's and women's event every year in early October, and you've got an announcement as to that as well.
Yeah, so we've decided to delay it. We're looking at some times in late November, December, maybe even later in December to kind of work off of our provincial dates for our men's and ladies, which in Alberta are going to be together this year in one event, which has been great news for clubs that want to host it and everything. So yeah, some sad news, but I think the clubs kind of went with a good direction. We're going to open it up as an open house where we can book times for our members to come down to get used to the new way of curling with the COVID stickers and stand here and one sweeper and trying out some masks on the ice and stuff like that, rather than having our WCT. It is sad for our club. We've hosted it for, I think this was going to be our 7th season now. We've had 20 to 24 men's teams every year. Same with the ladies. Huge event. It brings a lot of startup cash to our club, but I think it's a good decision for our members to get down to the club and try it out before our leagues start the week after. So.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of these clubs are put into difficult positions. I know we are going through that with the Stu Cells and the events in Ontario. The two host clubs are not able to take the events, but it looks like we found a home in Kitchener-Waterloo. So
that's great
we're
news.
roaring ahead. We're trying to put together all the policies in place. We're working with trying to reach out to the health unit and get answers to them to clarify travel. A number of teams are probably bringing players in from Alberta, Manitoba, but we're going to try and do things that that are creating as much safety as possible while allowing these athletes to still compete.
Yeah, and I think that's a unique thing about our sports. Sorry to cut you off, but
No, yeah.
Our regular rules for curling before the COVID rules come in are basically social distancing rules, right? Standing outside the hog line, only one person's supposed to be behind with the skip. Now with a few different rule changes with the one sweeper, all the good sweepers, unlike myself, we're kind of going with the one sweeper anyways. So I think our sport's pretty unique and could be done very safely throughout the winter for most people. And I'm excited, nervous, and hopeful for the season to kick off and really get our WCTs and our competitive curlers back in our club in November and December for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the key to this is we got to be as safe as possible and make sure that we find ways to go above and beyond. Like some of the discussions being held, I know coming up today was the idea that I think we require everybody within our event to download the COVID tracking app. I think that's maybe a policy that every curling club should actually adopt, because should a case pass through the club, you don't have to all quarantine or self-isolate, when you could instead just, if you got dinged by it, it's because you were within actual range of the person.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually. That's something that I just wrote down to talk to our board about for sure.
Yeah, that came up in discussions with Stu Sankey, and I think that's an amazing idea that really helps to, just sort of protect ourselves in so many ways. Masks are probably going to be mandated on the ice in Ontario, but players are going to be able to drop them to throw and sweep, for example. So, yeah, it's just trying to figure out the best way to minimize risk and everything. But it seems like, I know you were telling me earlier that everything looks like it's on path. Most clubs are appearing to open on schedule or pretty close. What's your experience so far?
Yeah, you know what? There's been a tremendous amount of work this summer that, I throw a huge thanks out to Jill Richard, our executive director for ACF, or I guess, sorry, not ACF anymore, but Alberta Curling, or Curl Alberta. Our city and Edmonton area curling clubs have come together with great policies and meetings. All of our curling clubs are set to open on time. One club that we're running is looking at an early November start, which is about 10 days late. We're looking to start on time. Registration's coming in. It's kind of funny because most of our clubs, we wouldn't even be thinking about registration or getting people to pay right now in a normal world. That would kind of start next week, and then people pay the first couple of weeks of curling. But with COVID and everything and the new procedures and policies and everything in place, we're kind of getting a start up on things and trying to get people to commit with obviously a refund policy and to see what our numbers are going to be. It looks like I would just project maybe a 15 to 20% decrease in the clubs that we are running. And then, hopefully a lot of people have said that we're going to run two different calendars, I guess, till Christmas and then after Christmas, and see some people that have said that they are not coming back or are interested in coming back after Christmas. So hopefully we can get some of that 20% back. So in over my summer, huge thanks goes out to those people. Braden Shopland, in my business, marketing manager and manager here that we put in place at Beaumont Curling Club. Everyone's just done a tremendous job to get curling going and to really help our clubs out. Obviously, curling's in our province, at least, there isn't a lot of wiggle room for finances to get us through a really, really bad year. But like, again, our clubs have really come together and helped each other out and worked as a group to ensure a safe return to play for sure.
Yeah, you've been able to leverage some of the government programs to help keep the clubs active and surviving as well. Figuring out how to make ends meet and just keep things going. Tell us a little bit about your experience and maybe some of the surprises you've kind of found over the summer. I'm sure there's been a lot of weird things going on lately, man.
Yeah. We've really tried to look at every government subsidy, every program we can get our hands on. The 75% wage subsidy has been a huge help, especially because most of our managers, most of our staff, throughout the summer, we've been in a unique situation where we've really tried to build our summer rentals up, which we've lost all summer this year. But really, a lot of curling clubs kind of go away for the summer. So it's helped us get people in staff and keep people around to come up with the policies, set up our curling clubs differently, to ensure the social distancing in our bar, in our lounge, because that's one thing that our members really. We did a survey to all of our clubs, and a lot of our members came back saying, you know what, if you take the social aspect out of our sport, then I'm not coming back. I love it. Yeah, right. So they want to be able to sit down at the lounge, have a beer, watch a game on TV, converse with everybody. So if we set it up a lot like the lounge rules in Alberta, probably most of the surprises that I would see is that everything changes every week. It seems like, right? So you write a policy and then you just finalize it, and next week it's completely different. And I think there's going to be a lot of surprises and a lot of uncertainty moving forward about masks, about how many people. Only last week we were under the understanding that we were only going to be allowed to have 6 sheets, 50 people playing at one time. Last week through AHS, they've opened that up because of the designation that curling has as a non-contact social distance sport. So that would be the surprises. I would say another surprise I think is the absolute willingness of the membership and curlers in general. We have such a positive and creative and resourceful bunch in our curling clubs. Everyone's really come together, and that's a surprising thing that I've found. For you guys need startup cash, I'll pay my fees early. We're running some online 50/50s that have really taken off for a couple clubs. Just the part of community I think our sport has. That's I knew it was there, but I think through this process it's opened my eyes and surprised me a bit on how generous and how helpful everyone is in our community, for sure.
Yeah, it's really great to see the curling community kind of come together in that scenario as well. And I think I'm getting a lot of understanding from people. I think they're happy for the opportunity to even just get back out there and play again. And let's hope that we have some calm waters and a very quiet fall. We don't have a whole lot of excitement in our sport, and which would be a good thing, I think, for now. I
For
know we're
sure.
going to try and cover the curling that we've got out there, and try and keep telling some of these stories. And it's a pretty interesting kind of world that your family is sort of woven here. I know your dad was involved in the club down in Arizona as well, and
Yeah.
that in itself is a whole other story. And yeah, it's amazing to hear some of these stories and to learn a little bit more myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost seems like honestly, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but a huge thanks goes out to yourself too, right? Like what you've done for exposure, the curling tour, everything else. You've brought the sport leaps and bounds as well. So I want to thank you from a club perspective of all the help that you've given us through the World Curling Tour events and management and helpful. Like it's just been amazing. And I think this sport kind of it draws you in. I took a few years off when my dad was set to retire, just to see if I didn't want to follow in dad's footsteps, and it kind of drags you back in, kicking and screaming, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been quite the experience, and we'll keep drudging through this year, and this shall too will pass, and we'll be bigger, stronger for it for sure. All of our clubs.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think it's been a great journey so far. I've really enjoyed being a part of this sport too. It's really what it is, the people.
Yeah,
That's what makes it so great, and makes it fun to keep trying to come up with new ideas and see what's next. So
for sure.
anyways, until then, thanks a lot, Matt. Really appreciate the time, and thanks to everyone for tuning in and checking this out. If you're following us on Facebook, please make sure you give us a follow, like the video, share the video. All of those things certainly help us. And on YouTube, like us, subscribe, and hit that bell too, so you'll know when we're up next. Anyways, thanks a lot, everyone. Cheers, and take care, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.